Hey everybody, this is my 20 long open-topped office tank, and I have been treating my German blue ram that you can see down there on the bottom. He's had some sort of infection in one of his eyes, or so I'm assuming it was some sort of infection that was causing one of his eyes to bug out. It was his right eye, the eye that is facing us now. And I don't know if he's fully back to normal, but we've gone a day longer than the treatment was called for. We went 6 days instead of 5. And, well, technically today would be the 7th. I gave 6 treatments, so today would be the 7th day. See, there gave you a little bit of an idea of how his eye is still just a little bit bulged out. But his color is back to full vivid brightness. His behavior is perfectly normal. Everything is fine. The only thing I'm concerned about is the fact that I was seeing a little bit of stringy poop coming out of him the other day, and a lot of people were suggesting that it's some sort of internal parasite, and I don't believe that's the case. I think that it's probably got more to do with the fish's gut bacteria than anything else. For one thing, right as it was becoming sick, I think it got an injury, a physical injury, from some work I did in the tank. I did a lot of plant removal. I did a really big water change, and the tank was all helter-skelter, willy-nilly. And I think he probably banged into something or scratched his eye or something like that. I don't think there was any kind of internal issue going on. So right around that time, I had let the tank temperature come down fairly low as well. So the low tank temperature was probably playing a role in the fish's digestive tract already. And then when I began medicating the tank, I'm medicating it with an antibiotic. And that is going to wreak havoc on the fish's gut bacteria. Or at least it could. I don't know. I know there's a difference between gram-negative and gram-positive. I don't know what that difference is. I don't know what those terms actually mean. And I don't know how that would affect the gut bacteria in a fish, but it likely could. I know that when we humans take antibiotics, it's always a good idea to take some probiotics afterwards. I don't know whether that really does help or not. Some people say it doesn't do anything. Other people say it does. But the idea is that it really does wreak havoc on our gut bacteria, and that's a really important part of us feeding. I wonder what in the world he is chasing around in the tank in there. I could not see a thing that he was actually chasing, but it sure looked like he was after like a little shrimp or something. Maybe it was a fry. Maybe it was a guppy fry. But I've never seen guppy fry dart and dash that fast. Whatever it was he was chasing, I never did see what he was chasing. I just saw him dashing after something like he was trying to snatch it up and grab it. So I'll have to look at the video later and see if I can figure out whatever he was going after. So anyway, that's what I think is going on. I think between the low temperature for several days and then getting slammed with an illness and antibiotics all at the same time, I think just played merry hell down in his gut. And we're just going to have to wait for his gut bacteria to recover and start functioning normally again. Again, he already looks better. I haven't really seen the stringy poop in a couple days. I've had the temperature back up into the mid-80s for 3 or 4 days now. I do have a second heater in the tank, as you can see right there now. I've got it worked out pretty well so that they both come on about the same time. I think I do have 2 different temperature zones at each end of the tank. This temperature will occasionally kick up to 31 degrees for a few minutes before it drops back down to 30. I have it set at 30. And then I have this one set where the dial says it's set to about 84. And it seems to come on and off right around when my other one is fluctuating between 30 and 29. So both ends of the tank are probably slightly different temperatures with the water circulation and everything, but that's good because I've got warmer and cooler zones, and that way if the fish does need to move into a new area to adjust its temperature, it reminds me of my reptile keeping days where you would have to have various temperature zones within the habitat so the animals could regulate their temperature. We can regulate our temperature by sweating or by shivering. We generate our own heat. Cold-blooded animals have to move to warmer or cooler areas. So having some slightly different temperatures within one tank is not a bad idea. But again, I think I've got it dialed in to the point where anywhere in the tank is going to be very comfortably into the mid 80s. Now, this video was going to be a before and after, because the point is I'm done with my medication cycle, and I'm going to do a great big water change right now and get all that medication out of the tank. So that was a very chatty before, so I'll try to have a little more concise after. So the tank looks a lot better. I did wipe the glass down. It was a little grungier than I was expecting it to be. The filter got changed, and I just topped off the water and did a little bit of gravel vacuuming. I didn't do too much because of it being a planted tank. I've got roots everywhere, and so I don't do a whole lot of gravel vacuuming. And honestly, the gravel vacuuming really disturbs the nitrogen cycle that's in the gravel, or the bacterial beds that develop in your gravel, and just, I don't know, over vacuuming just seems unnecessary to me. What I do in this corner, being that this is the far end of the tank, this is where the detritus tends to collect. And so I sort of sift through the gravel in this far corner a little bit. I get the back corner underneath where that new heater is, because again, the water sort of swirls around and it tends to drop a lot of crud in that corner. And then, of course, I'll gently sort of use the edge of the gravel vac, and I'll lift up the little pieces of wood, and, of course, a bunch of mulch and everything comes up and out from underneath of there. But I really try not to disturb my gravel beds any more than I have to. I mean, you can see down here where they're just completely untouched. I haven't done anything to this gravel in a while. And, in fact, I'm even pretty careful when I pour my water back in the tank when I'm topping it off, not to disturb the gravel any more than I really have to. In this tank, I actually pour the water in on this end, and I pour it right down so it hits that rock as it's pouring in, and that sort of dissipates the flow of water, and I don't wind up getting any gravel disturbed very much down there. So I did want to make clear why I don't think that it's a parasite in my ram. I meant to talk about that in the beginning part of the video, but I forgot. I don't think it's a parasite, because the only way there would be a parasite introduced into this tank would have been when I had that thick-lipped gourami in here for, I don't know, a couple of weeks before I moved it downstairs. So I had it in this tank for a couple of weeks, and everything was fine while it was in here. And I didn't have any issues with anything until I did that really big water change and pulled a bunch of plants out of there, and that's when the eye got swollen up. That's when I noticed the temperature was too low, and then I started noticing the stringy poop. So if it got a parasite from that thick-lipped gourami, it sure took a long time before it started having any impact on the fish. And even more interestingly, the thick-lipped gourami must be some kind of carrier or something that's immune, because the gourami is fine and has never shown any signs of having any kind of parasitic infection or anything like that. So I don't think there's any reason to believe that there's a parasite going on in the gut of that fish. I think it's just that the fish's gut bacteria got knocked out of whack from the combination of the low temperatures and then getting hit with antibiotics right on top of that. So hopefully, now that we've got the tank sorted out, we won't have to worry about that too much anymore. I did put some aquarium salt back in the tank. I pulled 5 gallons of water out, so I put approximately 5 teaspoons back in. So it might be a little more heavily salted due to the evaporation, although I did add about 7 gallons of water back in, and I only did about 5 teaspoons of salt, so that should probably work out about okay. And on a final note, I wanted to say that my temple plant is starting to look a lot better. All the new growth that's coming in is actually green, and it's staying green, and I'm actually getting, they were on there last night. They come and go fast, but I had 2 flowers on here as of last night, and they're already gone. It has little dainty purple flowers on it, really pretty little things. And they're both gone already. But if you look in here, you can see all this new growth, and these are all flower buds that are starting to develop. These are all flower buds, so I should be getting some flowering going on in this temple plant here pretty soon. Don't forget, I do sell my temple plant. I sell my Java fern, my Java Windelov, all that kind of stuff is always for sale. You can see in here I've got all these little babies in here that need to come out. Stuff like this, that's just a baby plant sitting in there. floating around, and I've got tons of them. They're everywhere. This plant has been breeding, so you can see I can just pull baby plant after baby plant out. So I'll put my email down below if you're interested in any of those aquatic plants, or if you're interested in any of this temple plant. Check my email down below, and we can make arrangements from there. And that's about all I can think of to say for the tank here. I do want to mention why I think the temple plant. I knew I had a train of thought I'd lost there somewhere. I put eggshells in the bottom. They're all sort of incorporated down into the gravel by now. You can kind of see there's a pile of them right there. They look sort of grayish tan color. That's eggshells crushed up in a mortar and pestle until they're almost a powder. And then I poured them right in there, and of course they're all swirled around the tank and settled in around the roots. I think because my super soft water has no calcium or magnesium in it, I think that my temple plant here was suffering from a CalMag deficiency, which makes sense. With no calcium or magnesium, that would make sense. So the eggshells are designed to provide some calcium and magnesium, and I also started using Flourish, which I was looking at today, and does provide a little bit of calcium and magnesium, but only trace amounts. So I think it's probably a combination of giving it the dosage of the trace minerals and then giving it a little extra boost with some extra calcium and magnesium with those crushed eggshells dissolving into the tank, or having the desired effect. And finally, I will say that normally I do a nitrate test on this tank as just sort of an ongoing experiment I've been doing. My regular viewers will know what I'm talking about. I didn't bother with that tonight. I just went ahead and did a water change. In fact, the tank hasn't even hardly had time to settle down since the water change. It is already getting kind of late in the evening, so I didn't bother with any of that. So make sure you're subscribed, and next time we do a water change on this tank, I will get in there and I will check the nitrates, and we'll discuss that a little more in depth and so on and so forth. So again, make sure you're subscribed. You won't miss that or anything else. You never know what you're going to get with me. It might even be 25 minutes of leaf blowing. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you real soon in the next one.